Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Welcome to the Spec Race Ford Weekend Warriors round 10 here at Sebring, the club layout, as we join our 48 drivers once again battling out for 3 championships. We're coming to the end of the season. As ever, I'm leading you through. My name's Adam Hadfield. In the box with me tonight, Sam Fitzpatrick, and on cameras, Jonathan Grabowski, leading our production team. So Sam, we've made it to double figures, round 10, only a couple more to go. What are you looking forward to tonight?
Well, just this unusual track layout. It's all corners, pretty much, is this circuit, even in these fairly underpowered Spec Racer Ford machines. A lot of corners for the drivers to deal with. It's not going to be one of the slipstream circuits, and it's once again another one of these very short circuits after Tsukuba and also Not Kill and Summit Point that we've already visited this season. But yeah, should be a good one. Incorporate some of the good corners here at Sebring does this layout, and I imagine a circuit, even though they wouldn't have necessarily run this exact compact, I imagine they would have known these corners very well already, this community.
Yeah, hectic is a word that springs to mind for me. It's only 1 3/4 miles. Lap times, as we can see in qualifying, of just 70 seconds to get round. So, yeah, it should be an interesting one. Plenty of opportunity to trip over each other, especially if we get into lapped car territory. And another feature of this circuit, which we're seeing on camera now, the interesting pit layout. Obviously, it's a club circuit. It doesn't have the usual pit lane. We're around the back half, as it were. So we have sort of a makeshift pits, which I don't much like the entry into this circuit. I can see some incidents abound around there when we get to our pit stop phase.
Yeah, it's more of an escape road, isn't it, than a pit lane, and they've decided to put some painted white lines there for the drivers to stop. I am shocked because a few people will know this. Anyone who's tried to do big grids at Alton Park, for example, will be aware that iRacing limits the pit stops at a lot of circuits. I'm amazed that there are 50 odd, maybe even 60 odd pit stalls because, yeah, like I was saying, it's just basically a glorified escape route is that pit lane. And as you say, there's going to be incidents, I imagine, but a very short pit lane as well, so I guess not a lot of time lost. I'm not sure. We have so little experience around this exact config.
Yeah, it's a pit lane that actually cuts out part of the circuit as well, doesn't it? It's you go into the pits after the start-finish line, and then you rejoin on the exit of turn 4. So another potential mishap area there. I'd certainly like to go on board when we do get into our pit stop phase, just to see how the drivers tackle that. You mentioned it's a short pit lane. It's also a very short entry. You don't have much time between going off the racing line and having to get it down to that speed limit as indicated by the cones on entry. We've just come to the end of qualifying now. Boys are shooting back out for their 5 minutes warm-up. Whilst they do that, I'll talk to you a little bit about our series sponsor, RaceVoice, sponsoring this series this weekend as ever for the Spec Racer Weekend Warriors. RaceVoice is proud to be the exclusive sponsor of our Spec Racer Weekend Warriors Racing Series. You too can take your driving to the next level with on-track audible performance alerts with RaceVoice and RaceVoiceSIM. Hear miles per hour, turn entry and exit speeds, upshift alert and other performance metrics which are selected and configured by you. Go faster with the speed of voice. Plus, Weekend Warriors get 50% off the annual SIM pricing using the promo code of WW50. Take some time and check them out at www.racevoice.com. So we go on board with Stevie Ray just briefly there. This is around the tail end of the lap through the tight chicane. That's probably one of the major overtaking opportunities around here, Sam, isn't it? Turn 10, the chicane, and as we head down now to turn 2, these are the two big braking zones where I'm expecting to see most of the moves that will take place. As ever, we'll be getting lots of overtaking, as is common in this series, I imagine.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it like I was saying before, there are a lot of corners, but it's not going to be impossible to overtake because, as you say, you got Big Bend and then you got into that tight hairpin chicane type corner. So the drivers will be able to make moves around that part, as you see another one of the drivers dive into the pit lane. And yeah, that will be very interesting later on. But yeah, so there will be some overtaking. I'm not sure if there will be pack racing. I mean, these guys seem to be able to pack race pretty much around anywhere. And I wonder also if there'll be a bit of lap traffic as well. We saw that at Knock Hill cause absolute mayhem earlier on in the season. Really was a major point in the race. I wonder if we'll see the same thing tonight, especially if we have a bit of an issue off the line. As you can see, our standings, and that has come down a little bit, hasn't it? The gap between the top two drivers, Nom versus Arabian, but I believe with Nom's drop scores, he's still got a very secure lead right now.
Yeah, you mentioned mayhem. Nom obviously had a taste of that last week out at Okayama on the last lap, getting into all sorts of issues with Friends Arabian for that last lap overtake. Despite that, he still continues to lead our Spec 1 standings with 698 points on the board, a 50-point lead, 51-point lead over Friends Arabian. Guangxi Lin, our winner last time out, currently heads up in third place ahead of Jason Green, Jörg Marni, and one-time winner Michael Dobek, Hraski, Matthias Weiger on 434, Andreas Bertoni and Austin Winner make up your top 10 in the leading points category, as highlighted in red. Highlighted in green are our Spec 2 drivers. Tom Renders making this championship all his own this season with 547 points ahead of Flavio Endalo. Al McCain in third with Ian Gibson, Andre Favini and Johan Batenga in close company. Very few points covering that little section of drivers. Paul Jackson currently in seventh ahead of Juice Simpkins, Edgar Sanchinelli and Michael Vaglini make up your top 10 there. And finally our Masters category for drivers over the age of 55. Chris Murakami, another championship that's been run away with by one singular driver. He's on 514, his closest rival Antonio Reyes on 421. The somewhat tragic Antonio Reyes missing out on a victory by literally tenths, literally one corner not executed quite to the best of his ability last week cost him an overall victory. He's currently in second in the standings with Adam Bradshaw in third, ahead of Marcus Burkett, Bob Kern, Stevie Ray series organiser Jim Brewster, Michael Jean, Kurt Nunez and Gianni Longin on 250 points make up your top 10 in the yellow highlighted Masters category. Now we're coming to towards the end of our warm-up, just 20 seconds on the board, and then these drivers are going to be lining up on the grid. I'm interested to see where we actually line up on the club circuits, and I'm not too familiar with how the lead up to the start works around here.
Yeah, if I'm honest, I thought the start line was around here until you pointed out that it's not around here. It's literally the other side of the circuit, so I'm not quite sure. And by the way, I managed to push that Reyes finish into the back of my mind, and I was feeling quite positive about life, and now you've reminded me of it, and I realised how disastrous life can be, and it's really not worth the pain of it, because that was harrowing last week. We've made sure to plaster it on social media though, so hopefully Antonio doesn't forget it anytime soon.
Yeah, here's hoping he can make amends. He's starting 11th tonight as the drivers are on the back straight, so I imagine this is going to be a very short run to the start, so I'll make this as quick a job as I can. Andres Bertoni has taken pole with a 110.8 ahead of Jörg Marni. Great start, great qualifying for him to be on the front row. Steve Ellison lines up third ahead of Ferenz Arabian in the naughty books from last week. Aeronom in fifth and Maurizio Naselli sixth. Guangxi Lin lines up seventh, joined by Tom Renders, ever the Spec 2 leader in eighth. Marcus Burkett, lead Masters driver in ninth there, ahead of Jesus Rodriguez. Antonio Reyes in 11th and Felix Simon in 12th. 13th is claimed by Stephen McDonald and Ayub Hamda in the double O. On 14th, Simon Mayer in the number 5, lines up 15th. Alongside him is Andrew Love on row 8. Miro Hraski in 17th and Jeff Fritscher in 18th. Chris Murakami, our Masters leader, back in 19th. Some work for him to do. Bobby West in 20th. Those drivers all covered by just 6/10. It's a close one here tonight. Paolo Gori in 21st, ahead of Matthias Weiger. Jason Green 23rd and Andrea Fidvini. Then Dorelli, Sanchinelli, Vogel, McCain, Juice Simpkins and Kurt Nunez make up the top 30. Labate Lopez, Stevie Ray and Jim Brewster 34th, Adam Bradshaw and Charlie Vaccaro. Dick Jackson, Santiago Jacobson, Gould and Bob Kern up to 42nd, Michael Vaglini in 43rd, Ducato 44th, Gaston, Longin, Dantas and Bukubza make up your 48 car grid. Just got through there as the lights go out and we're away. Bertoni leads them away, caught hard into turn 1 by Marni, but they get it all lined up. Friends Arabian around the outside claims third place. First few drivers already in a line, and behind them it's all seemingly quite clean. Hectic but clean, I think, on the opening there, Sam.
Well, I saw a little bit of contact, I think around about 20th position, just as we went to the green flag. I think that may have involved Jason Green, who's a little bit of a tricky few rounds. Also, Sergio Durelli, so actually maybe just outside the top 20, I think that contact occurred. But was a bit fortunate that no one else got involved. I think a couple of drivers may have even ended up in the pit lane. That was where they were sort of heading. But Bertoni ahead, and yeah, Arabian gets past Elson.
Let's go straight to a replay. As you mentioned, a little bit of contact in the back. We're focusing on Jason Green here. Is it just going to be a case of drivers stacking up, some ready to go, some not? Yeah, I think that's exactly what it was. And Jason Green got ploughed into the side of by, I'm not sure who the driver was, spearing to the right. But yeah, I think a little bit of a miscommunication as to when people are going to be stepping on the loud pedal, I'm afraid, there.
Oh, Maya with an issue, by the way. And he is falling down the order. And by the way, it was Viger who made the contact. Viger's still going. Viger's barely lost any places by his way start somehow. So the fact that that car is absolutely mush right now, as we see the 901 Murakami leader in the Masters Championship. He's around Haraski, who always seems to be in the wars. You can pretty much rely on just focusing the cameras on Haraski for the whole race, and it's always going to be a fun one. Haraski ahead of Gory a bit. They're fighting one another as we go into the cut through, which shortens this circuit significantly, and this is what happened to Meyer, and I think this has lost him 15 or 20 places.
He's down the inside there. Oh, he's going to get shoved off onto the grass, and then it doesn't seem to be a terrible incident, doesn't it? But I think he's just lost that much speed. Yeah, you can see all the other cars just fly past him now. Lost momentum, having been knocked one way, and then slid across the track. He was somewhat lucky not to collect anyone as he slewed across the track. We're back to live pictures though, focusing on Chris Murakami at the moment. He's in 17th, is he? Oh, someone's off in the background. Someone's taking the escape road. Still, we focus on Chris though. Bobby West is in his slipstream behind him.
He's off the circuit. So to interrupt, Marnie from second position has made a mistake.
How on earth he ended up out there? He was looking good in second. Oh, is this going to be a move? Is he going to take a dive at Bertoni? I think he is. Oh, Bertoni gets out of it very early though, so he's not under any pressure to make this. Oh, and just overcooks it. Gets in there a little bit too hot, and round comes the rear, which is so easy to do in these very rear heavy cars.
And there's also been an incident for Gory. I know we're spending a lot of time on the replays, but there's a lot going on out on circuit. And I think there's been an incident for Gory, which has involved a couple of other cars down at the hairpin, perhaps, or maybe it was around that previous section that we were just watching, as Marnie trying to come back. This is against Burkett. Oh, big crash.
Oh, Lynn's off.
Ahead, that's Lynn. And has he must have got contact right there, because he's gone off very early or had to take evasive action. He takes that escape road, which loses you a lot of time, and you get a slowdown and to come back on, and he's got a lot of damage on that car. So that is a big shame for Lynn, who had benefited from that previous Marnie incident.
Yeah, it's looking like he's going to get help here, isn't it? He's got someone right under his rear bumper. I can't even see what number that is. Oh, and yeah, shoved into the braking zone. I believe that may have been Reyes trying to make up for last week, and he's not done himself any favours, or Wang Shilin, unfortunately. Yeah, that was not particularly smart from Reyes there to be following a driver that close into what is a very heavy braking zone there, Sam.
Yeah, you need to lift off a lot earlier, don't you? You know, save the fuel, lift off, and then you can go further in that first stint. Now a bit of an issue for Jurelli. He's dropped a few places. That's in the latter 20s. That's just at around the near end of the circuit. And with all these incidents, it does mean that the gap between kind of the front of the field and the back of the field is now half a lap. So already we're less than 5 minutes into the race, and already half a lap is the advantage. So we're definitely going to get a lot of lap paying, and anyone who saw the not kill round knows how what the chaos that can ensue. We kind of avoided it at Tsukuba. It wasn't that big a deal. I think everyone was just so well mannered, but with the amount of drivers with issues so far in this race here at Sebring, it is going to be a bit more prominent. The 227 off Mabini game hustling, and then seemingly with a lot of damage. He's just trying to get that car, I think, to the pit stop window, probably about 8 minutes into the race. Then he can pit and get to the end of the race.
Yeah, he's losing time significantly here, isn't he? Everyone just sliding by. He's not putting up any fight to these drivers. As you say, just probably looking to make the best of a bad situation and come in. Oh, was just out wide in front of him. Manages to save it though. As we go through the cut through once again. We head back on board now with Wang Shilin. Let's just see what he's trying to deal with. It doesn't look so bad from the onboard. It doesn't seem to be turning into any issue. So all the wheels seem to be turning in the right direction at the very least. Perhaps it's just a power issue, an engine issue that's got him not running to full revs.
Yeah, he's absolutely sitting duck. A few changes just ahead there. I think Pavini continuing to make moves, and also Reyes in this battle with Samoz and Renders. Wow, that's 3 wide. I think that's Renders who's just mugs the pair of them up into 7th position, or actually maybe defending right there. And yeah, Reyes in 9th position at the moment. Yeah, super close between these guys. Certainly not the end of it. Allows Samoz to pull away. So he's now 7/10 of a second ahead after losing a bit of time on that previous tour of the circuit. Oh no, Pavini, he was storming his way up the order. He's just had a bit of a problem, so he's tumbling down the running right now. There he is.
Oh, and he's stopped on track. We flicked to him. There he is. Stopped out in the grass. A bit of a mystery onto why he's ended up there. Let's go straight to a replay and see if we can't shed some light on it. He's on the inside there. He's got Meyer in front of him. Another driver to his outside. And he's just going to pull off. Well, that's an odd one, Sam. I don't know quite what's happened there. Maybe something at home in the real world has affected his virtual racing tonight.
Yeah, seems to be the case. So yeah, shame for him that he's had to pull out, especially with all the overtakes that he was making, like I was saying. So Elson in the lead now, so he's got past Bertoni, but it's ever so close between the top 5, Arabian, Nom and Naselli, all in the fight. And you can see how Elson got past. And this seemingly lost them a bit of time. It does lose him time making moves around this part of the circuit, which is where you identified where they would be making moves earlier on. And yeah, Bertoni just having to hesitate with the turn in there. And that's how this top 5 all became within 1.3 seconds of one another.
Yeah, we've quite clearly got a breakaway 5 there, haven't we? As we can see in the little battle graphic in the bottom corner, made up of Ellison, Bertoni, Arabian, Nom and Naselli off the back. And then Simo's leading the next group, 3.5 seconds behind. But yeah, a breakaway 5 looking to fight this one out as we're coming to the start of lap 8. 9 minutes on the, well, 8.5 minutes on the clock. And these drivers, I imagine, are just going to take it easy now. They've got away into a lead group. They don't want to do anything silly. Get to their pit stop phase, and then we'll see the real battling. Oh, speaking of battling, these guys are going to have to work their way around a couple of back markers who have just exited the pits. One of them does the very sensible thing of taking straight to the grass. And now they've just got the 318. Is that to get round? Or is it the 319 of Vaglini, possibly? Didn't quite catch the number. Yeah, it's Vaglini, who's just come out of the pits ahead of them. Hopefully he'll also see what's coming in his mirrors and just move to one side or the other. Steve Ellison's going to try and pick up a little bit of a toe off him, I think, there. Moved left just to pick up the slipstream. Oh, and yeah, Vaglini a little bit undecided, I think, there. But did the sensible option, went for the runoff. And now these 5 are untroubled once again.
Whenever
Meanwhile,
someone goes... Sorry to interrupt, as I will hesitate on my anecdotes and instead pay attention to this one. This is Murakami, and McCain and Cursor, 319, only just rejoins the circuit, so Maya is at the head of this one, but Murakami with a very good run. He's going to be at least alongside. No, he decides to back out of it. That's smart driving there from Chris, using his wisdom that comes with being in the Masters class. Essentially just ahead of Simpkins. What I was going to say is that the runoff area at that hairpin whenever I see someone go down it, I think of the famous online video of someone like losing their brakes and they go like beyond like the fencing, so they just drive through the fencing and they just like drive round the area of the circuit for about 5 minutes. Oh dear, the number 5 off the circuit. Basically, I recommend anyone to search for that. Just search like Sebring Lost or something, and it is a very good video. Murakami with a cheap position gain to grab them.
Yeah, but stick with us for the next 30 minutes before you do go for that search, I think, because we'll have more action here. Murakami now leading this one. He's in 16th place at the moment. He's got Alan McCain for company as this battle group has somewhat become disjointed there, as we saw Mayer off the road, Sanchinelli and Simpkins in the back, and then Haraski. Stevie Ray, I could just see in the background as well, in 22nd, the number 911. And then this is Marnie, is it? Marnie trying to recover up the grid. It's Simo's just in front of him, and they're not too far off the lead group actually. I mentioned it was about 3 seconds. It's more like 2.5 now, so whether those lead 5 have decided to battle a little bit, but it's not all said and done for the drivers hoping to lasso back up towards them. We're on board with Simo's at the moment, the number 31, looking back at Marnie. And will Marnie decide that he wants to lead the fight back to the front 5, or is he happy for Simo's just to lap at speed? No, he's going to pull out, he's going to look up the inside, and then decides against it. In the background you've got Renders, Reyes and McDonald. Oh, as Reyes has gone round, oh, and contact! Oh, he's contact with a second car tonight. He's already punted Lynn into the barriers. Now he's having a go at McDonald, the number 50.
Yeah, that will hold them up a bit. It's put them off the back. Certainly the closest battles at the moment is that lead pack, and then we've got a couple of other ones further down. This is Maya versus Haraski. Haraski with a poor start earlier on. Oh, as we see Maya come into the pits there. And we have this nice tour of the track. You can see the pace car, and it's a very quick pit lane, isn't it, around here? So they'll be losing a very little time, I imagine. We'll have to take on a decent amount of fuel, I think. I imagine this is I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to fuel usage. I guess sorts of middling. I imagine when it comes to fuel usage, they'll be stationing for, yeah, about 11 or 12 seconds seemingly. And then you cut so much of the circuit, that's probably a much smaller penalty than what we saw at, for example, Monza earlier on in the season. So Bertoni back in the lead. Is that Marnie getting past Simo? So Marnie looks like he's going to be heading up this peloton, and after that mistake he made earlier, unfortunately for him, no damage, and he's still in with a chance of a race win, albeit he is burning through fuel, having to punch his own hole into the air right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really interested to see if these guys can bridge this gap back to the front 5. Normally, what we see is a group get away, and then that's it for the rest of the race. It's between those 4 or 5 drivers who make that leap. But at the moment, it looks like several of the drivers want to be a part of it, and we did see in qualifying an extremely close set of times. So obviously, even the smallest of mistake can be punished by a lap time loss against drivers who are all so close and so adept around this circuit. We're on board with Stephen Ellison at the moment. We've just come through the cut through, back onto the back side of the circuit through Longburn. This is turn 9 of the club circuit, heading down to the heavy braking point of the hairpin cum chicane hybrid, if you want to call it that. All 5 of these guys are a little bit strung out at the moment, whether they're just giving each other room, not wanting to be right on top of each other, and potentially causing Elson a little bit wide there, kicked up the dirt. It's definitely a feature of that corner that you do kick up some dirt occasionally, but as we've seen go too far, it'll spit the car round a little bit. You've got to just watch how slippery it can be out there.
I'm sort of waiting right now for Eranom to come into the pits. We've seen in recent rounds, not necessarily to a whole lot of success, Eranom go for the early pit stop, usually 15 to 20 minutes into the race, and get the undercut, because if he feels like he's faster than the drivers ahead, he'll think, okay, I want to get out of this pack. I want to be, not necessarily in free air, although sometimes that is the case, but, you know, be around slower drivers who not being held up against, you know, slower drivers he can easily pass, and maybe even get a bit of a slipstream advantage, where these guys are not quite quick enough to make easy work of them. And so I would not be surprised if he's the first driver to come in. But then, because he hasn't won a race in a while, I think about 6 rounds or so, it's in a row that Nom has failed to reach the top spot on the podium. So I wonder if he'll hesitate on that strategy for this round of the championship.
Yeah, he won the opening 2 rounds of this season, didn't he? Back-to-back victories at the start of the season, and then it's been a long pause for Aero Nom. We've not seen another victory for him. Other drivers have picked up some. Wang Shilin's picked up 2 in that time. Aero Nom's obviously been there or thereabouts, most famously last week when he led most of the race only to get taken out right at the end. And I was wondering as we were watching on board, how much is that playing on his mind? He's staring at the back of Friend Arabian right now. Is he thinking he might not pay him any favours when he does come to try and overtake him? Or is he going to be a little bit more classy than that and race as he always does? Nice and clean and consistent. Oh, as we're looking now at a 3-wide situation, we've got Dorelli, Brewster, and is that Bradshaw just in front of them as well? Yeah, Bradshaw leads this little group in 18th, 19th and 20th. Dorelli, the pro driver, in a Masters sandwich as it stands. But yeah, going back to Aero Nom, I do wonder if he's thinking about last week as he looks at the back of the number 2 driver.
Yeah, and they race against each other a lot, do those 2 drivers. And because they are sort of championship rivals, like I was saying earlier on, Nom with a very strong lead probably doesn't need to do a whole lot, but Aero's, I doubt Aero has too much anger in him necessarily, and I think he'll be quite happy to stay behind in this part of the race. As I say every single week, you don't want to be in the lead because then you're burning through your fuel, and guys like Nom and Arabian and Naselli and Elson maybe as well, he hasn't led too many laps, they will be able to probably be stationed for about 2 seconds less in their pit stop than the likes of Tony. So yeah, that could be an advantage when we come around to the pit stops, which are very much alive. We're seeing about 10 drivers so far come into the pits. No doubt many of them have damage and just wanted to get their fast repair complete nice and quick. We are watching Thomas Renders, top of the Spec 2 drivers at the moment, a long way ahead of Alan McCain, 15 seconds ahead of Alan McCain, in fact, who is yet to pit himself. As the most, oh, we've got an off there. Who is that? Over Gleany. So
right mark of the Gleany.
1 lap down, and yeah, he's almost gone into that gate that I was talking about earlier on.
Yeah, to be quite honest, I think we've seen the number 319 down there 2 or 3 times actually. I'm not sure he's completely au fait with which way is the correct way. But Steve Allenson, he knows which way he's going. He's going into the pits, pulls into his box. We're looking at about an 11 to 12 second stationary time. At least that's what drivers prior to him have been doing. As we count down, switching back to the leaders now. It'll be interesting just to see where Elson comes out. He's exiting the pits right now. And is this 12th place? Oh, it's a tricky exit, isn't it? Oh, and that's a bad exit right out in front of Chris Murakami, who has to take avoiding action. My goodness. That's not the way to win races. You're going to get pile drived if you do that once too many times. Chris Murakami, with all the plaudits from myself there for avoiding what would have been a mother and father of a crash. Steve Ellison making a real hash job of that one, Sam.
Yeah, we might get a replay of that one. You can tell it's not a proper pit lane, is this one. So here is Murakami just minding his own business. And of course, from this angle, we see a lot more than what Murakami would have seen. And even from this angle, it's tricky to see, and then all of a sudden he's right in front of him, and that was good awareness. In fact, Benny had to break for it, just managing to move out of the way. But we are going to see more of that when the rest of the drivers come into the pits. In fact, I'm surprised we haven't seen more issues of that variety so far in this race. And Elson, it was a risky strategy to pit in early, and unfortunately he's lost time. He's yet to, so he's got past McCain, but he still needs to get past Murakami, and this is losing him a lot of time right now. And now he's having to go the long way around, but that's not going to work for him, and this is perhaps denying him a chance at the race victory because he is losing tenths of a second every single corner.
Yeah, we're sort of in the latter or the middle part of the circuit right now. There's not really any overtaking opportunities around here, are there? If you haven't got it done by the heavy braking of 2, you're going to follow them all through this snaking section, all through the cut through until now we get to Big Bend turn 9. You can get a run up the inside. Chris Murakami moves over, knows he's not fighting the number 56 tonight, lets him go, pulls him behind for a little bit of a draft down to the braking point. Just make sure you don't get sucked in on the brakes. But Chris is far too experienced to do anything of that nature. Hits his apex as we flick to Tom Renders and McDonald up his inside. These guys have been fighting for most of the race. We've lost Marnie from this group. I imagine Marnie's also gone into the pits, has he? Because oh no, he's there. Sorry, I lost him on the time screen. Marnie's actually leading this back group now, isn't he? He's up into 5th with the pit stop of Elson. He's taken Simos with him, still trying to hunt down the lead group. Meanwhile, Renders and McDonald have actually got a little bit separated from this battle now, haven't they? And we've sort of got a set of 2 and 2, following 5th, 6th, and 7th and 8th. Bobby West then a few further seconds down the road, running in 9th place. Sort of having a lonely race, I think, at the moment as well as Bobby West. If we get a chance to see him and concentrate on Simos, there he is. Bobby West, all on his lonesome, I'm afraid. He's lost the toe of any drivers in front of him, and he's a little bit too quick for the drivers behind him. So it's one just to keep your concentration up for Bobby tonight, Sam.
I must say, I am absolutely shocked with Bobby because the name Bobby West is one of the most American names I've heard in my life. And yet he's from our proud nation, so I welcome him with open arms. But I was absolutely sure that Bobby was American. And then I look at the timing tower, and or the timing screen, sorry, and he's got a Union flag by his name. And yes, I'm shocked. Marnie slightly going up the circuit just ahead. That's what the kind of flashing yellow was indicating. Rodriguez also into the pit lane. There is Marnie. I don't think it was losing him any time. Just I think running a bit wide through that final corner tightens up quite a bit. There's not really any deterrent to go out wide there in the form of a curb or anything, but it just leaves you a little bit of traction. Here comes Simos. No, he's just doing the wise thing, just staying behind us. Simos a bit. That's very close under braking, very nervous about something happening after we saw what happened to Lynn earlier on in the race. Also, Bender's just going past, I think, a back marker in the background there. So still everyone's hesitating to come into the pits. The lead 4 quite happy with how this is going. They've probably jumped Elson with the traffic that Elson has had to deal with. Even though he's only 21 seconds behind Elson, I imagine once the pit stops are sorted out, he's going to be a little bit detached from this lead 4.
Yeah, I was just looking at his lap time. Last time around, he set a pretty much identical time to Bertoni in the lead. Let's see what he does this time around. There you go, a 1:12 flat. And Chris Murakami sets his fastest lap of the race. Obviously benefiting from following a one-time race leader there, Chris Murakami. But yeah, I'm not sure how much time he will have lost. Obviously, he lost a little bit with traffic, but I imagine he'll still be within that magic second or a couple of seconds and be able to exploit a draft if he has lost any time. Also, a pretty good pit stop time for Steve Elson, just 11 seconds stationary, which is about the fastest that we've seen so far. I imagine it'll be what we see of the remaining front 4. Obviously, we don't have Wanshi Lin in that battle either at the moment. He's normally the driver to really stretch it or compress the time, but he's stationary. As we're watching Andrew Love getting out of the way of Steve Ellison. Andrew obviously not fitted yet. Oh, as he comes across in front of Chris Murakami. Chris Murakami is having all the trouble in front of him tonight.
Yeah, he nearly managed to get underneath him. This is for the lead in the Masters category. And Love maintains that position. Oh, he's run wide though, and now there is a slide from him, and he does lose that position. I don't think that was contact there, but just lost it under braking, and McCain is also going to go through. So Murakami, after a bit of an underwhelming qualifying, had a fair amount to catch up to Love. He has caught him, and now he'll be looking to extend that race lead with a quarter of an hour to go.
Yeah, we'll see it on the replay now. I think what we're going to see is Love just brake way too late compared to the drivers around him. Yeah, immediately you can see it there. Makes a big close-up on Ellison and drives away from Chris Murakami on the brakes there. As a factor of just going in too hot. I'm impressed that he got it back under control as quickly as he did, though. Didn't lose too much time, just a single place to the drive behind him. I imagine if I'd got in that late, I'd have been off for a tour of the scenery and picking up some grass.
The weird corner that, because you do it 99 times and every single time you think, oh, I could brake a bit later then, and then when you do brake a bit later, you're hopelessly off the track and you somehow find the barrier despite the fact it's absolutely miles away at that corner. So it is very tricky. One of my least favourite around this circuit. This circuit is probably my worst circuit, and I don't really believe in good and bad circuits for drivers. I think everyone's sort of the same at all circuits, but this is the one that I do struggle with. Besides, of course, the time that I scored invaluable points in the BSR Radical Winter Series Championship, which earned me the title in the end. But let's not talk about that too much and that great success, and instead focus our attention on the leaders, who are not far away from having to pit. We can probably go another 5 minutes on fuel at most, might even be less than that, might be more like 3 minutes, and so surely someone will duck into the pits on this time round, but no. They all continue round. We'll be saving lots of fuel, and I feel bad for Bertoni because I simply can't see him holding onto the lead once the pit stops are done, because everyone else would have been able to save so much fuel in this stint, particularly Nom. He is looking quite disconcertingly confident in there in third place.
Yeah, one thing in his favour at least is that there aren't too many long flat-out sections on this circuit. I mean, we do obviously have the run to 2 and the run to the chicane hairpin hybrid, but it's not like it's Monza, where drivers at the front are absolutely lambasting their position as they throw away the fuel to lead. One thing I would mention, I don't think these drivers are all going to want to come into the pits at the same time. We've already mentioned how awkward the pit lane is, especially the entry. There's no clear marker as to where your braking point is, so I wouldn't particularly want to follow or be followed into the pit lane. I'd want to come in on my own, I think, and have that sort of security of space around me. But these four, obviously still going at the front. They might well end up following each other in. We're looking at Bradshaw at the moment. And then we switch back to the leaders. And yeah, we've got one peeling off. That's Naselli, number 44, into the pits. We go on board as he traverses the lane, looking for his pit box. See how long he's stationary for and see how he compares to Elson when he comes out. I imagine it'll still be quite close, you know, Sam.
Yes, I'd give the slight edge to Naselli, but Elson's times have been fairly good, pretty much matching whenever I look across the race leaders. As here comes Naselli, and he is gonna be ahead, isn't he? He will be a little bit slower, but no, Elson's still very much in the game, so that's good news. I was fearing that Elson would be a bit more detached by that, but the Murakami kind of battle didn't lose him as much time, and he's still very much in with a chance of the race win. Unfortunately for Naselli, he's got 10 seconds ahead of him, just a couple of back markers in his way, and that will enable him to do a nice outlap right here. But I feel like, ooh, as we've got a spinner just ahead, that's the 287, just losing control of his car. And they did well, did Naselli and co, to avoid that mess. Does Bertoni come into the pits this time around? I'm not seeing anyone come into the pits. No, they decided to go one further lap. And so we must be really pushing it on the fuels. Bertoni puts a personal best lap of the race in. That is exactly what he needed.
Meanwhile, Aero Nom got very deep into the braking zone there. You can see immediately it's cost him a couple of car lengths. I wonder if he was falling to sleep ever so slightly there. Sat in third, not doing anything to move forward. Just overshot it, and now he's got a little bit of work to do to pull them back in. Meanwhile, we've got our leader in Spec 2, Renders, and our leader in Masters, Murakami, in. So apparently lap 25 is the time to do your pit stops. We're looking at Chris Murakami, stationary right now, in his box. He's going to be out behind Reyes and possibly Brewster as well when he makes his exit. So third in class, I imagine. There he is. Exit the pits. Looks over his left shoulder to make sure he's not going to block anyone out. And back onto the racing line. Chris Murakami in 16th as it stands.
So will Bertoni come in this time around? They're just approaching the pit entry. No, but Marnie and Simose are into the pits. So we are now over the half an hour mark. McCain ahead of Renders, but McCain still needs to pit. So that one does not count too much. In fact, McCain might opt into the pits this time round. And was it Elson ahead of Naselli? I'm sure if we spotted that one. Elson back ahead of Naselli after Naselli's pit stop. So Elson looking very strong. However, his last lap time was 7/10 slower than Bertoni, which is a lot slower than what he needed. As here comes the back markers, and this is going to be super close here. And Elson just ahead of Marnie in all of that one. Can he stay ahead? He just about can, but that was super duper close. And that's good news for Bertoni and Arabian and Nom for when they make their pit stop. But Elson crucially ahead, and Naselli has lost out big time from this, hasn't he? He was ahead of Elson for a moment, and now he's got 2 cars between them.
Yeah, I was just going to make that very point, Sam. He lost a little bit of time, either through a mistake or just the overtake that Elson put on him. And suddenly it's not just cost him 1 place, it's cost him 3 places with those 2 drivers coming out of the pits. I did wonder when Marnie and Simose came into the pits. Obviously, they'd been closing down on the lead group. And 10th by 10th, lap over lap, they were edging towards them. I'd have thought they'd have stuck it out and tried to completely close down the gap before making their pit stops, but maybe they thought if they pitted then they could be battling with Elson, and that is obviously what's transpired. Elson and Naselli, Simose and Marnie making up what will be the lead group of drivers that have pitted. We've just got to wait to see how they compare to these front 3. Still lapping at roughly the same pace, down in the 12 flats or high 11s. Arabian looking up the inside of Bertoni as we head to our braking point again, and Bertoni just lets him go there. Very easy. He's going to let both of them go, in fact.
Well,
that does surprise me.
Wonder if he's barely going to make it to the pit stop, because he was lifting and coasting so much there. Seems to be on the clutch, I think, just trying to coast it in, and look, he's losing time on the exit here as well. But Nom, the tyre or the fuel saver himself, just going on and on and on in this stint, and he'll be able to eke 1 extra lap of fuel. That's great news for him. But that, we got an instant, and that's also who was going to be leader of the drivers who have pitted. They weren't going to be in the overall lead, but that is a big setback from them, and they had a chance at a podium, but that chance has absolutely vanished. By the way, Arabian still ahead of Bertoni out on circuit, as that was way too late on the brakes for Marnie. Credit to him that he waits for his rival, and Elson will be thinking what he did wrong.
He did absolutely nothing wrong, did he? Hit his braking markers. Marnie did not hit his. My goodness, that's really cost both those 2 from being a part of the lead battle. They're now well off it. Arabian and Bertoni have come out of the pits some 5 seconds ahead of Simose. That's a huge gap to have. When you consider that there was only about 2 or 3 seconds between those 2 groups prior to the pit stops, suddenly Arabian and Bertoni are out effectively in the lead. I'm just checking the lap times. Oh, and there it is. They were only stationary for 9 seconds each of them, so claimed an extra couple of seconds in the pit lane. Let's see if Aeronom can pull the same trick.
So if this is less than 10 seconds, this stationary stop, it'll be close. If it's less than 9 seconds, I think that'll be enough for the race lead. He gets stationary, hits his marks very impressively. We're up to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 seconds. Oh, it's not. Oh, wow, it's identical to the 100th to Arabian. This is going to be ever so close. Arabian was ahead on track prior to the pit stops. Nom now comes out of the pits. He's going to be slightly slower, but I think he has just about got it. He is ahead, and Arabian is going to have to do this on circuit, and he's got a little bit of time to gain as well. So Nom with a really good in lap. That must have been where he managed to get that done, because he was a couple of tenths behind when Arabian came into the pits, but now that Nom comes out of the pits, he's about half a second ahead.
Yeah, and he's come straight out into traffic, which we will not appreciate. There's 3 cars, all look like they're battling as well, directly in front of him. He wants these guys out of his way, preferably before they get to the braking zone for turn 2, I imagine. But they're not looking behind them, they're looking at each other, battling into the hairpin chicane. Aeronom right up onto the back of the number 40. If he had a horn, he'd be beating it right now. gets a little bit of an overlap on the exit. He's going to make this pass fairly simple. But will the next two drivers make it as easy? He's having to take a wide line, possibly. Yeah, he's having to give room to the back marker who hasn't backed out. Oh, and he has to try and do it on the brakes. Oh, this is not the best way to be racing against back markers. But they've all made it through cleanly. It's cost Aeronom a little bit of time. Arabian now right on the back of him. Oh, is Arabian? Did he look up the inside? I thought, for a second there, I thought he was making a wild dive into the braking zone for 5 Tower. Backed out of it though. Aeronom continues to lead, second and third, right in his wing mirrors. And we've just got one more back marker to clear, I think.
Sorry to interrupt, McDonald's just lost a position to Elson. So Elson, despite that contact, still really strong, and I'm surprised that he's quite as strong as he is, because we saw Lynn be debilitated after similar contacts earlier on in the race. But that is how McDonald made, well, this is how McDonald made the mistake, and this cost him, I think, about a second. I think he's just gone a bit wide here, and yeah, there you go. And that's what lost him 6th position. He's now under big pressure from Reyes and Marnie. When Marnie was in the battle for the race win. Still, they moved through the traffic. That seemed a bit beneficiary there for Nom. Didn't seem to lose any time behind the traffic that time, and actually pulled out by 1/10 of a second on that last tour of the circuit.
Yep, we're getting to the business end of the race now. Pit stops came quite late in the day. We're on lap 31, 36, 37 minutes down, just a handful more to go. We've probably only got 3 laps left to run. So Arabian will be wondering where he's going to have to make his move now. Same for Bertoni. They've lapped this track enough times to know where they need to be hot and where they need to get the runs. This will be the main zone for it. We're on board with Arabian now. Let's just see how much he closes up under the draft for a matter of just 2/10 behind. Closing, closing, closing. Nom decides he is going to defend this early as well. Arabian, is he going to fight it hard around the outside? He is. He gets alongside, but Aeronom has the high ground of the apex. Picks it up nicely and continues to lead. There's another long drive now, though, before another heavy braking zone. Let's see if Arabian tries a second time. He's got the slipstream. He's got the run. Nom's going to defend. Bertoni is getting interested as well. Can't make it 3 wide. And Aeronom holds the inside. Fends off Arabian, who runs very wide. In fact, no, he's still got an overlap. Unbelievable. Arabian's going to go all the way around the outside, claim the inside through the double left kink. Then we're going to go right. Heavy braking for Tower again. Arabian still side by side, and now finally have to give up the fight.
Wow, that was great racing between the pair of them. Arabian did well to control his cars. Again, a couple of laps in a row now, Nom has missed the apex at that final corner, and it really has been setting him back, and that's just leaving him a sitting duck once again. Mose with an off in the background, and that has dropped him from 4th place down to 5th, and in fact behind Olsen and McDonald as well. There he is, very slow to rejoin, but is Arabian going to be able to get past Nom this time round again? It's going to be close whether we're going to get 1 more lap after this one or 2 more laps. Really close on the stopwatch as Nom just holding on. Bertoni lost a bit of time there under braking, despite the fact that he could have gained some, as Arabian is closer than he was on the previous lap. We are just going to get in 2 more laps, I think, and I wonder if this is going to push it right on the edge of the fuel for many of these drivers. Arabian with his nose ahead, he's going to try to do the exact same thing that he did on the last lap, but tries to be a bit more profitable, and they seem to be in the exact same positions as they were on the last lap as well. But Arabian a little bit further ahead. He can't quite defend from Nom, who breaks later into Tower, and Nom holds on once again, but he feels like if Arabian can just get that little bit further ahead, then he should be good, as Bertoni sees his opportunity and he moves up into 2nd position, and these guys are going to fight with one another and potentially give Nom the race win.
Yep, Arabian keeps his nose in there. They're still side by side, and Aeronom is going to be absolutely loving this. This is all he needs to snatch a victory away from the other 2. We are going to get another lap, I think, you know. The time is ticking down, 21 seconds. We should just get back around to the start-finish line. Whether we do or we don't, though, I think Nom might have enough of a gap to have this one sewn up. Even if he doesn't, I imagine Arabian's going to make Bertoni's life very difficult. Oh, in the background, we've got another spin.
Check a flag.
Is it the checkered flag out? It is. Checkered flag flies for Aero Nom. Aero Nom takes victory ahead of Bertoni and Arabian. My, we were right on the last second there. I wasn't sure. Oh, it was side by side. Elson and McDonald. Elson snatches away 5th from McDonald. Reyes comes home winner in the Masters category. Simone's Mahoney. Renders wins the Spec 2 class and finishes inside the top 10. We're waiting for Bobby West. Comes across the line now in 11th. Jesus Rodriguez, the number 76, claims 12th. And Chris Murakami and Andrew Love, 13th and 14th. There they are across the line. Followed by Drelly and Lynn having a good fight there in the background, side by side across the line. Haratsky in 18th. Simpkins claims 19th. Burkett's gone into the pits, has he? Simpkins suddenly jumped up to 19th there. I'm not sure what Marcus Burkett was doing, the number 920. Possibly out of fuel, or maybe a penalty, maybe a drive-through penalty that he had to serve on the last lap. That's an odd one, Sam.
Actually. It doesn't work serving the drive-through penalty. I see a lot of drivers try it, but there is an instant limit, of course, in these races of 12, which is very small. I'm always surprised by how few drivers get drive-throughs, and I would not be surprised if that is the case. Or maybe there's like a cut-through or something. Maybe the start-finish line comes up a bit earlier. If you go to the pit lane, I doubt that's the case. I don't really know how that would work. But great work from Nom, and that is his first win, I think, in about 2 months. Aero Nom, which is remarkable considering that he's been dominant in the championship. As you see our results up on screen.
There we are, a little bit earlier than I had anticipated. I thought we were going for another lap, but as it is, the timer clicked over and the flag flew for Aero Nom, taking his 3rd victory of the season. First driver to notch up 3 victories this season, 2022 season 2. Andreas Bertoni comes home 2nd, snatching the 2nd place off Ferenz Arabian with an opportune move at the end there. Ferenz Arabian claims 3rd position. Maurizio Naselli, in the end, somewhat lonely there in 4th place. Drivers obviously lost out to the drivers ahead of him and pulled away from the drivers having incidents behind. Steve Ellison recovers up to 5th ahead of Stephen McDonald and Antonio Reyes, the winner in our Masters category. Felix Simo in 8th and Jörg Marni 9th, another driver having to recover from an incident ahead of Thomas Renders, winner in our Spec 2 category. Bobby West in 11th ahead of Jesus Rodriguez. Chris Murakami 13th ahead of Andrew Love. They make up the podium in the Masters. Alan McCain is 2nd home for the Spec 2, 15th overall ahead of Sergio Dorelli. Wang Shi Lin reclaims 17th place after being punted out early on by Jörg Marni, unfortunately. Mira Haraski home in 18th, the number 64. In 19th, Stu Simpkins for Racing Team Dencap. Stevie Ray, Steve Series organiser, in 20th ahead of Adam Bradshaw and Jim Brewster. Andrea Favini in 23rd ahead of Marcus Burkett, the last driver on the lead lap. Emerson Lopez comes home 25th ahead of Edgar Sanchinelli, Coop Nunez and Jeff Jacobson. And we wait for the scroll to see who comes up next. In 29th, Paul Jackson ahead of Jan Longin. Bob Kern in 31st and Bradford Gould 32nd. Charlie Vaccaro, I think the last driver to actually finish the race, 2 laps down. The rest of the drivers ending their races somewhat early for various issues. Michael Veglini in 34th, Ayu Hamda 35th, Simon Mayer, Aaron Vogel, Jeff Fritzer in 38th, Jonathan Gaston, Gabriel Labatti, Tito Castro, Jose Santiago, Jason Green we saw out very early on with an incident running up to the start. Paul Gori, Matthias Weiger, Samuel Dick, Evandro Dantas, and finally Jean-Claude Bukubza, who I don't believe even took the start. And those are the results of your 48 driver contest tonight. So we head to our interviews. Sam, is there anyone waiting by that you'd like to speak with?
I think I've got to drag up our race winner tonight, Mr. Aero Nom, who joins us in the commentary box now. Congratulations, Aero. Yeah, well done on another race victory. That final few laps looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was very difficult to defend. So yeah, he got pretty good runs, but yeah, I tried to hold him outside, so he couldn't over under me. Yeah. yeah, it worked out at the end.
Talk us through your strategy, because throughout the season we've seen you come into the pits earlier than anyone else. It seems to be very much a common tactic that you use to pit on maybe the quarter of an hour or maybe 20-minute mark and get the undercut on the other drivers. Tonight it was the other way round. You went one lap further. Was that the idea from the race start?
Yeah, pretty much, because so far it hasn't worked. So I tried to do something different, and yeah.
How did you find this Sebring club circuit in the end? I mean, had you driven much around this specific layout much in the past?
Not really. We had one race here, I think maybe 4 seasons ago. And I don't race into week, only do few time trials on Saturday maybe, and so yeah.
Well, congratulations on the race victory. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the drivers, all the admins who do all the work, the sponsors, and a few of their guys.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, Eric, and yeah, best of luck next time out.
Thanks.
Eric Nom there, your race winner tonight. Who are we going to have a chat with next, Adam?
A little technical issue. Right, I'm going to bring Antonio Reyes into the box for us. Antonio, winner once again in the Masters category. How are you feeling right now?
I feel very bad because I hit Ivan Chilin and I didn't really want to do that. But anyway, Ivan Chilin, if you see this stream, please, my apologies publicly here for you. I'm sorry. Yeah, well, anyway, it was a sad race because of that for me. It brings down the value or whatever, finishing 7th place. But yeah, anyway, it was a little sad for me because of that.
Yeah, we saw it on the stream. You were literally right under the gearbox of Wanchilin, going into quite a heavy braking zone. Was it just a momentary lapse there that you caught him on the brakes, or did he brake early?
Well, I was bumping drafting him, and I was so close to him that I didn't see the cones where my braking point usually. And then when I tapped the brakes, it was already too late. And actually, he helped me slow me down the car to make the turn instead of being rammed out. Yeah, it was like that. Anyway, sorry again for that.
Yeah, it was a race that we saw a few incidents sort of in the back half of the top 10. A few drivers getting pushed off or making mistakes. Was it a particularly hard race from your viewpoint?
Yeah, it was. It was kind of a race that really either way, or you go very relaxed, not taking too much, kind of just having fun and not trying to get whatever position or points in the championship. You go very relaxed, aim, and then you may have a good race probably. And if fighting or trying to get something, then you start getting nervous and stressed and pushing too much, and then things happen.
Yeah, one feature we talked about a little bit in the commentary box was the pit lane at this circuit. Obviously, it's sort of a temporary pits. Did you have any issues on entry or exit, or just did you see anything going on that worried you with that setup?
No, it was very smooth. It was okay. I did practice a lot before on the practice session, so I have no issues at all at that point. Yeah.
And obviously, next week we're into round 11. We're coming towards the end of this series. It's Hungaroring next week. What are you looking for the end of this season?
I might not be able to do it, but I will try to work out to be there. And then the track, yeah, I like that track. It's a very drafting track as well and difficult to pass, but it's a kind of funny track. Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us, Antu. Congratulations on your win in the Masters and 7th overall. Well, hopefully we'll see you next week out in Hungaroring then.
Yeah, hope to see you guys again. Also, thanks for having me. Yeah, take care. Bye.
Antonio Reyes joins us there. And Sam, I don't know if you think we've got time for maybe one more.
Yes, I think we probably do. I think the higher place driver of the drivers we have available was Thomas Renders, who joins us in the commentary box now. Congratulations, Thomas. By my reckoning, that is the Spec 2 race win for yourself, and it seemed like quite a comfortable race victory for you.
Thank you, thank you. On the contrary, actually, it was so hot, not only virtually but also in my own cockpit in real life. So I think it's about 26, 27 degrees in my own cockpit. So I'm drenched in my own sweat today. But yeah, it was actually quite a tough one because I had some decent pace, I think, but the group in front of me, I wanted to stay in touch with them, but yeah, it needed all my focus. I needed all my focus for that. So yeah, I had a really good fun. It was a great race.
That is probably the worst thing about summer, the typical 3 months of absolutely drenching your race seat every night whenever you're racing. But yeah, hopefully buy a fan or something. Hopefully that might address those issues. We saw the pit exits tonight. There were a lot of almost crashes from what we were watching. Was there any close incidents for you? Because you're really spat out into the action when you leave the pit lane there.
Yeah, I think at one moment there was, when I was still on track, there was one car who, I don't know who it was anyway, it doesn't matter as well, but I was with McDonald, I think, and I just barely stayed in touch with him, but there was someone coming out of the pit lane, pit exit, and was a backmarker, and because of that I lost connection. But yeah, I don't really remember my own pit exit actually. I think I was just behind Antonio and just a bit too far behind to really keep in touch with him and get in his drafts to eventually try and fight for P6, I believe it was. So yeah.
I am just about to spoil the Formula 1, so if anyone hasn't seen the Formula 1 today, quickly pause your screen. And now I will embark on the question. You happy with the result? Are you part of the Orange Army?
Yes, of course. I mean, I'm from the Netherlands, so I almost have to. But yeah, it's I watched the race and didn't really like it because of all the problems Max had. But yeah, it was. I'm happy with the result in the end.
Definitely, yeah. It's rare that you spin into the gravel and still win the race, and yeah, lots of other adversities, but no, you did very well earlier on. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, Steve Ray today for simulating my real life weather as well.
Yes. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, Thomas, and we'll see you back next week.
Yes, you're welcome, and see you next week.
Thomas Renders, your Spec 2 winner tonight. What time is it? We have a couple of minutes, maybe a very quick chat, Adam, with our last.
Yeah, I was just thinking we've got maybe time for a very quick rundown from Alan McCain. He did an excellent job tonight, climbing from 28th to 15th, and he's been waiting very patiently, so I think he deserves it. Alan, welcome into the box. How was your night?
My night was rather good. I enjoyed that so much. Just everybody spinning off in front of me, and I just kept the steady pace and kept going.
Yeah, we saw a lot of issues. I mentioned it sort of back end of the top 10, but also the midfield had a few incidents. Obviously, you picked up a lot of positions there. There was also a little bit of a conflab at the very start. Did you get close to that? Did you manage to drive around it cleanly?
I was pretty close to it and managed to clear it with no incident points. I actually completed the whole race with no incident points. I don't think there was very many dead.
Yeah, I can't imagine there are many out there without at least one 4X or a couple of trips through the grass. Obviously, claiming second in the Spec 2 to Tom Renders. Last season even, you claimed the championship. Possibly not going to claim it this season, but how are you looking, do you think, in the championship overall?
At the minute, I would say I could possibly finish second. I think Thomas has it pretty much sewed up. Even if he didn't turn up the next 2 rounds, I don't think I could get him. It's just I was having a lot of hardware problems, connection problems, and that's why I've been finishing way down low. So unfortunately, it's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes.
Yeah, unfortunate that we are all victim to our hardware at homes in these situations. Before we let you go and before we end our broadcast, is there just anyone you want to give a shout out to?
I'd like to give a shout out to Stevie for running the league and all the drivers that compete in it, and my teammate Aeronom for winning tonight.
Yeah, Aero claiming victory, a very handy victory as well for him. Thank you, Alan, for joining us tonight, and we'll wish you good luck for next week as well.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Alan there, 15th overall, second in the Masters. In the Spec 2 category, sorry. So we're coming to the end of our broadcast. Before we let you go, I just mention that we are obviously on Apex Racing TV. It's a YouTube channel, so if you've enjoyed the broadcast, please take the time to give us a like or subscribe to the channel. And you'll also find Apex Racing TV on all your favourite social media channels. Simply search Apex Racing TV on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram. And before we do go, I wonder if Sam has a little bit of a rundown for the week ahead. Any upcoming series, Sam? Oh, Sam might have just logged off actually, so I might have to do this myself. If you...
Apologies, I muted myself and then I forgot to unmute myself. So yes, we have got the iRacing Israel League coming up tomorrow. We've also got Rick Motec Sports Car Series coming up tomorrow midnight basically. And then also the Apex Racing League GT3 Trophy, that's the final round of the season in that. We've also got the ARL prototypes next Friday, also the Formula 3.5 on Saturday, and then you'll be back with us on Sunday in the Spec Racer for the penultimate round of the season.
Wonderful. Lots of racing to keep everyone entertained then. But from myself, from Sam and from Jonathan, we thank you for joining us for yet another fantastic race meeting with the Spec Race Forward Weekend Warriors presented by RaceVoice. I've been Adam Hadfield. I hope you'll join us next week, wherever you are in the world. Either good morning, good afternoon or good evening, good night.